Okay, good morning. Thank you so much for your incredibly warm and generous welcome this morning. I'm so grateful to be here. So as Peter said, my name is Janice, and I am honored to work as one of the directors at our place. And thank you all for being here and braving the cold Victoria day. As we all know, Kingston's a different thing. And taking a little bit of time to learn about the work that's happening at our place. Every day in our community, we see people who are struggling, people who are living in deep crisis. Sometimes the scale of it can feel overwhelming. We see people who appear abandoned, unwell, and without the care or support that they need. And when we see that, we often ask the same question: is there hope? Can things actually change? The answer, thankfully, is yes. And many of the people in this room are part of the reason why, especially Susan with her fantastic coldest night hat. So every day at our place, we see people who begin to move forward. Sometimes the steps are small, and sometimes they are bigger, but every single step matters. And together, those steps form a path out of crisis. And at our place, we call it the pathway of support. Okay. The pathway begins by meeting people exactly where they are. Sometimes that means offering a hearty sandwich to someone who is hungry. Sometimes it means offering and providing a safe place to sleep. Sometimes it means connecting someone to medical care, mental health support, or welcoming them into shelter or supportive housing. Sometimes it means offering a warm place to sit and simply connect. A moment of dignity, human connection in the middle of a very difficult day. And for some people, it means entering our long-term addiction recovery program, where they commit to 9 to 24 months of structured healing and personal growth. And here you will see our pathway of support, going from crisis to stability. So step by step, people move from survival to stability, and many towards recovery and renewed independence. There are many entry points onto the pathway of support, and every person's pathway looks different. But the one thing that remains the same: every person who comes through our door is given that opportunity to step forward. It takes time, it takes trust, and it takes relationships. But over time, those steps can lead a person back to health, back to community, and back to themselves. It often does start with a meal or a hot shower. We serve more than 1,400 meals every single day at our community on 919. We provide more than 40 showers every day as well. We offer the supports for frontline crisis every day. But what many people don't know and don't always see is that our place is not just responding to crisis. We are building a pathway that supports people at every single stage of that journey. Housing is one of the most powerful tools that we have for creating stability along that pathway. Across Victoria, our place operates supportive housing sites where people who have experienced homelessness can move into safe, supported environment. We have more than 500 units of housing. At these sites, residents have their own room and apartments, and they also have access to housing support workers, healthcare services, and community programs. The goal isn't simply to provide a roof over someone's head. The goal is to create a place where people can rebuild their lives. Staff help residents reconnect with doctors, access mental health care, stabilize medications, learn daily routines again, and to begin to imagine a future that feels possible. For many residents, it's the first stable home that they've had in years. And there's always that moment we see again and again when someone moves into housing. It often happens on the first night. The person steps into their small apartment that is finally theirs. Sometimes they've been surviving outside for months, sometimes for years. And that reaction is never dramatic. They always stand quietly in the doorway. They look at the bed. They look at the kitchen. They look on the door that locks. And sometimes they say something very simple. I get to stay here? And that question says everything. Because for so long their life has been uncertain. Where will they sleep? Whether it will be safe? Will they be moved along again tomorrow? Stable housing changes that. And when our community chooses to support housing and recovery programs, we are helping to create that moment when someone realizes that they are finally safe. When someone has a stable place to live, everything else becomes possible. Healthcare, recovery, rebuilding routines, and reconnecting with families. But housing is not the end of that journey. It's often the first moment when someone can finally exhale. For some people, that stability opens the door to something even bigger, recovery from addiction. Addiction is one of the greatest barriers many people face when trying to move forward. It's also one of the most misunderstood challenges that people experience. Recovery is not a quick fix, unfortunately. It requires time, structure, community, and deep personal work. That's why our place created New Roads Therapeutic Recovery Community for Men in 2018. New Roads is a long-term program where individuals commit to a structured environment focused on healing, accountability, and personal growth. As I mentioned, this program is long-term. It's 9 to 24 months, and that timeline is individual for each person. While they are at New Roads, residents participate in therapy, life skills training, peer support, and meaningful daily responsibilities. It's demanding work, but the results are extraordinary. And at New Roads, we often see something remarkable happening during recovery. Most people who arrive have spent years being defined by their addiction. They're called addicts, they've been called homeless, they've often been told that they are broken and beyond help. But recovery slowly begins to change how they see themselves. One graduate once said something that stayed with me. They said, "For the first time in a long time, I feel like a person, not a problem to be managed, not someone to be pushed aside, just a person." And recovery gives that back to people, their identity, their dignity, their sense that their life still has meaning. And when that shift happens, something powerful begins to grow. The belief that the future can be different from the past. And again, recovery is not the end of that pathway. It's the beginning of rebuilding a life. After completing recovery, many graduates move into what we call second stage housing. This is where people continue practicing sobriety and independence while still living in a supportive environment. For men, we operate a house called JMAC, where small groups live together in a sober housing while transitioning back into work, relationships, and community life. And over the years, we've seen how powerful that stuff can be. It gives people time to strengthen their recovery, develop new routines, and build confidence as they move forward into new independence. And we watched that success of that model. But then we always said, what about women? Women often experience addiction and homelessness differently. Many have experienced significant trauma, and many have been separated from their children. And many carry that deep pain of knowing that addiction affected the people that they loved most. When women enter recovery, one of the strongest motivations they carry is the hope of rebuilding relationships with their children. And that's why 1 year ago today, we opened the Women's Therapeutic Recovery Community at New Roads. So it's a very special day for us to celebrate that 1 year anniversary. This is where women commit to long-term recovery and structured supportive environment. This month, we are doing that for 1 year. And this program has been incredibly powerful. Women are doing the hard work of healing, rebuilding trust, and rediscovering who they are. But just like with the men's program, recovery is not alone. There needs to be that next step. So a place where women can transition out of recovery while continuing to build stable lives, and where the possibility of family reunification can happen. And that's what led to the creation of Reunification House. Reunification House has not opened yet. We just purchased the building, but within this month, we will be opening the doors. So Reunification is a small, supportive house, and it will be designed specifically for the women who are graduating from New Roads, who are working to live with their families and their children. So for many women in recovery, the children are the biggest reason why they became this journey in the first place. But rebuilding those lives are delicate. And addiction also means years of separation, missed birthdays, missed school concerts, and missed bedtime stories. But recovery now opens the door to do something that many thought was once would never ever happen, being a parent again. But again, reunification doesn't happen overnight. Children need stability, they need consistency, and they need to see that recovery is real and lasting. And Reunification House provides that bridge. It will give women a safe, stable home where they can continue building their lives while slowly reconnecting with their children. We've seen these reunions starting to take place. It's a first visit at new roads, it's a meal shared around a kitchen table, and it's a child who starts to realize that their mom is back and their mom will be there. These moments may seem small, but they represent years of healing. And that's what the pathway of support looks like in practice. It's not just one service or one program, it's a journey. It's a journey with meeting people exactly where they are, sometimes in crisis, always in deep pain, and walking aside them as they rebuild stability, health, and purpose. Along that pathway are many steps: meals, shelter, housing, healthcare, recovery, employment, and community connection, and we are grateful that our place can support each of those steps. So the work that we do at our place is complex. It requires partners across housing, healthcare, and recovery. But it allows when people who are moving along this pathway, so you have seen someone who has struggled just to survive, are now living independently, working, and reconnecting with family. You realize that this pathway is important. Real change is possible. Not overnight, but step by step. So when people ask what our place does, the simplest answer is, we walk alongside people as they move from surviving to stabilizing to rebuilding their lives. And sometimes, if we do our work well, we get to witness extraordinary things.